casting onto a ring using the Clove Hitch method. Okay, so as you can see in front of me, I've got the ring onto which I want to cast onto. So I'm going to make a row of loops around this ring. On the left-hand side of the ring, you can see I've tied it off with one of my two favorite knots, and I will list them above for you. The cordage then, or the twine, goes from my knot and to the right-hand side there onto my loaded netting needle. Underneath that there, I've got my net card or net gauge, and this just allows me to make sure that as I'm creating my loops, I've got them all at the same constant size. So let's go ahead and tie on our first loop. So to do that, I'm going to take my cordage or twine from the actual knot itself and allow it to pass over my net gauge. Once I've allowed it to pass over my net gauge, the next thing I'm going to do is take my netting needle and I'm going to pass it underneath the ring and bring it up through the center. And at the same time as I'm doing that, I'm going to allow the twine here to go round the back of my net gauge. So take it up around the back of my net gauge. I've pulled it to the right hand side. You can see now here, as I pull it up, I am now I've created the first loop on my actual ring. The next thing we need to do now is to lock that loop off. And you can see here now where I've gone over the top and round the back. My knot is on the left-hand side and my twine is on the right-hand side. And the next thing I need to do is just get my netting needle and I'm going to pass it down between those two and bring it out to the right-hand side. So take it, pass it down and pass it to the right-hand side, pull through your excess, and then there we have it. We've almost locked it off. And to actually lock this off now, the next thing I'm going to do is just form a loop over the top of all my work, like so. So you've got a big loop here. And the next thing to do to lock this off is I'm going to pass my netting needle underneath the ring, bring it up through that loop that we created there. And as I bring it up through, you can see now as I'm pulling it up, we're starting to lock our first loop into place. And that's it. That's just it. So let's repeat that process again. So to create our second loop, because if I take that away, we've only got one loop at the moment. So to create our second loop, take it over the top of our net gauge or net card, pass the netting needle underneath and underneath the ring as well, and bring it up through the middle. So we brought it up through the middle, and the next thing we want to do is, just so you can see it clearer, I've just spread it out a bit. The next thing we want to do is we want to take our netting needle to the left-hand side of that right-hand one and to the right-hand side of our previous loop that we created. So all I'm going to do now is pass the netting needle down through there, pass it down through there like so, take some more twine off my netting needle and just pull it up gently. And you can now see we've almost locked off our second loop on our ring. So to lock that off, the next thing I'm going to do is just form a loop over the top like so. Then bring my netting needle underneath the ring, up through the middle, allow the cordage to be pulled up, and we've now created our second loop at this point, and it's locked off here. And if I now actually take my net gauge out, you can now see we've got our loops here, but if you also look closely, as I just tighten them up, you can see now here, we've started to create a series of clove hitches as we go around. And so that's basically it. So that's all you do, is just keep repeating that process, and you will then end up with a lot of loops, as many loops as you want on your ring. Okay, so thanks very much. Take care.